Hey everyone, it's MeraMangle and welcome to another Mangle Morning. Today we're going to be talking all about the season 18 finale, plus the news that we have a premiere date for All Stars 11. We'll get into all that, but before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and join the Patreon where you can see all kinds of additional content you can't see on YouTube, plus you're helping support the channel. Now you can also support the channel by tipping on Venmo or CashApp like Keith R., who came through for me and said, "Thank you for keeping me entertained this morning and welcome back, Visa." Keith is only our second Venmo of the whole month. I appreciate you, Keith. Donate those Venmos so that we can get the co-host to come back again. And plus, it's going to be my birthday next Saturday. Tip for that as well, please. Ding. Now, of course, you can also tip using the YouTube thanks, and we'll go over some of those at the end of the video. We have a premiere date for All Stars 11 coming May 8th, so just 2-3 weeks away. Which is very soon, but not too far off from what's expected, what we're used to. What was surprising is typically we get to see some sort of maybe a glimpse or a preview of what the theme might be just based on the graphics. However, the graphics for this were the same exact color scheme from last year, the same exact graphics from last year with the orange, pink, and purple. So it'll be interesting to see, are we going to have the same exact color scheme and same promo theme for this year's Tournament of All Stars, which they didn't even tease that. They didn't tease the tournament or anything. So it's very bare bones that we have now, but we do have a date, which means the rest of everything that we'll be getting, which is mainly just the promo, should hopefully be coming soon, probably next week, I bet. They're going to let this press cycle probably go so that they announce their winner. Be curious to see how this press cycle for the winner goes and what the news angle is. One thing that I wanted to point out before we get into the finale itself is just kind of the overall feeling of the finale. And it's not these people's faults that we're in the audience, but they did feel like non-playable characters. It didn't feel like they knew who any of the girls were. You know, you can tell that they had some shots in there where they really had them get excited or have certain reactions, but the overall feeling was that they were reacting to folks they'd never seen before. I wonder if this was like this staff's children, or I'm sure a lot of the people were staff, but it just felt hollow. The overall finale felt a little hollow. I really like when the girls have time to evolve, even just those few months while their season airs, you know. The evolution of where that queen is now is so different. Or even talking to folks like when Ru talked to Onya, you know, like asking about her reigning year. When they filmed this last summer, she had just won, you know, if you think about that, like, it had only been a couple months since she had won. And just that difference, that time difference and the awareness of the show airing, everything felt like you could really feel the impact of that. And so the overall finale felt like it was missing something to me. But, you know, that's no one's fault that worked on it and the girls' fault. And in fact, I mean, that means they have to get everything ready even quicker. Speaking of getting things ready, the eliminated queens came back for one last walk down the runway. And we'll start off with our first four out, which were Didi Fuego, Mandy Mango, Briar Blush, and Sierra Mist. Out of these four, my favorite is probably Mandy Mango's. I thought she looked stunning. Love the dress, and I really love the headpiece. But, you know, again, she's a good example of somebody that her makeup did look amazing that night, but I feel like it could have looked even better if we got to see where Mandy's at now, you know. Getting to see themselves back on TV is such a big difference. And I don't know why, but this group, you could really feel that. The next four eliminated queens, Vita, Mia, Athena, and Kenya, all looked great. Vita's definitely was a standout, especially from far away. That look really popped. And then Mia, that color, you know, really just didn't pop on stage. That's that dark blue, black that just does not show up well on camera. It's hard to get a good shot of it. Athena came very Grecian ready. And Kenya, I love the idea of hers, but it looks a little bit over-styled, over the top, because it's hard to know where to look. Headpiece and everything, though, she looks stunning, and the gold looked great on her. I just feel like it's maybe one too many elements going on in the front. And then when she turned around in the back, it looked like she forgot her panties or something, because it was just a nude butt. So it's just a lot going on. And then the final three eliminated queens, we had Discord Adams, Jane Don't, and Juicy Love Dion. All three look great. I love that Discord referenced herself with the safety pins. And that's another thing I feel like we're used to when they come back all that time later is some self-referential. And I feel like Discord actually was the only queen that really did that. But I did love that gold corset look on Jane as well. That was stunning. Juicy's I wasn't as huge of a fan of. I felt like it was swallowed her up a little. I would expect a little bit more of a statement from her with the look, and I feel like she would have if they had more time in between. Because allegedly it was only 2 months later that they filmed these last two, versus, having nearly a year later to come up with their finale look and everything. That's a big difference. So I feel like somebody like Discord really made the most of it. Ru made the most of this finale as well. I didn't love this mix of the song, but the whole layout of this performance was really fierce. I love the starting off behind the red velvet rope and Jamal being like the bouncer. I thought all of it was fierce. And she really moved. There was some no-ging, but other than that, like, this whole number was really fierce. And Ru worked that stage. She worked the stage better than some of the top three did in their performances. And then our returning queens, I forgot that Crystal Envy had won Congeniality, but she looked incredible. I love her breast contour. Made me want to be like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm taking the time on my breast every week. And then Onya looked stunning. It was giving me like a Cinderella vibe with the blue, because it's like that Cinderella blue. But it was fierce. It was definitely one of her most striking looks we've seen. And again, they had to get these ready a lot sooner, than if this finale had been filmed like, seasons, 4 through 14 had been done? Or no, 15, 4 through 15. And in fact, I feel like the last couple, even though they've been filmed on the main stage, they still didn't film them till like the springtime. They still waited to film them. Jane winning Congeniality was actually a pretty big surprise to me. It made me laugh. Just because, I know that the girls loved her, but again, I don't know if she would have won this if the girls had voted after the show had aired or if the majority of the show had aired, just because she was one of the shadier girls, for sure, in Confessional. That was definitely a big surprise. I think that's definitely impacted as well from this. But, Jane, because she did so well throughout the competition, it's great that she got that extra little coin. And I did love the tribute to... I love the callback with the opening of Bob and Raja and Kimchi. I thought that was a nice way to tie the season together. And I love that they did the tribute to some drag legends throughout time, because that was really going back. That was a good history lesson. But some of these folks we had talked about years ago on a video, which is funny because we just had a suggestion about talking about drag legends. So I love that they actually have that segment. I still would love for them to have some sort of an award for a drag legend that's currently living. I think that would be fierce as well. But this is a good start to have a segment like this where we are calling out specific folks that deserve, their flowers, regardless if they're here or not. Now we're going to look at the top three queens, and we're going to look at the new look that was in their promo package, their final runway that they did at the start of the episode, plus their performance. And up first is Darlene Mitchell. I loved her little deer hunter look in the promo. That was actually really fierce in the promo package. I really loved that. I actually would have loved if she had done that on the runway versus what she did at the final runway. I get Darlene's brand, and I love Darlene's brand, but I don't think that the final runway, it's just tacky and messy for the sake of it, and it doesn't have as much intention or clear for the character. Definitely my least favorite from the top four. And I would say her performance was my least favorite too. RuPaul did more dancing than Darlene did in her performance. The idea of Darlene's song was great, but I feel like it didn't go anywhere. Cooking with gas, but I felt like that's all she kept repeating. Felt like there was lacking a story to it that some of the others had. And I don't know why she started off as a church lady. That actually really doesn't, if you really think about it, it didn't make any sense with the song or with what happened during the number. This is definitely my least favorite. Based on what she delivered all night, though I was Team Darlene, I was not upset that she did not make it to the top two, because I was underwhelmed with what she delivered during the finale. Myki Meeks did deliver. I feel like she delivered exactly what you'd expect. In terms of the finale. Her promo look, also stunning. Those looks were really great. That's why I wanted to talk about them, because I feel like, they're just in there to flash through, but they were really fierce. I will say her final runway, it was reminiscent of her promo, but not quite as good. And also, the tights did not match her skin tone at all there, and were a little bit bunched up, you could see in certain shots. the illusion didn't quite work for that look. And then her final number, which by the way, I didn't even mention, I love what they said with these final numbers, is that it was a collaboration. They got to write the song and come up with all of it with Leland, and they also all sang their numbers. And so it felt like, the whole package was really them, versus like some years it feels like you could tell that someone wrote that for them and they probably wouldn't write that for themselves. It felt like they really got to put their all into it. I like the idea of them really being a part of it and getting to customize it. I will say her song would start off great. I love how it started off with the mirror, and then it built from there. Although substance-wise, I kind of wanted the song to have some sort of story arc versus just bragging about being great. And then just all these sexual innuendos. It was almost like maybe she's going to get into the adult film business as well with the song, because it was a lot, and it was over the top. But it was cute, and it was definitely more of an epic finale moment versus what Darlene did. I think the big surprise of the night was Nini Coco in all areas, especially the performance. It was my favorite performance of the whole night. So dynamic. It felt like something a real pop star or a real superstar would do. It felt very Gaga, but sharp, like a Janet performance. It was really fierce. And I love that, they were referencing her background and that her day job, and it felt like it was giving like a full story with that. The song didn't, when you really look at the lyrics, it wasn't like the most depth, but it felt like she gave it her all in terms of the performance with the song. So I thought it was fierce. Her look in the promo package was also kind of reminiscent of her promo look, which I thought was cool. But it was a little bit understated, but it didn't have to be the most epic look. But I do think that she, out of the top three, her finale look, her final runway, was the fiercest, would be my favorite. Forget to use this. So, like, super strong night for Nini Coco, and she needed to in order to really earn that spot. Because Darlene does get cut. And like I said, I was rooting for Darlene prior to this finale. But watching the finale, it completely made sense to me that Nini and Myki were the top two. And it was surprising how much this finale had me rooting for Nini again. Just really like, it had me really rooting for her. But Darlene handled this really well. And it does suck knowing that you're the girl that's cut at the very last minute like this. This final lip sync ended up being a real battle. And Darlene, we never got to see lip sync, but based on the performance aspects we got to see of her throughout the season, like the girl group, and this final number in the talent show, she's not much of a mover, so I feel like it's in her best interest that she probably didn't lip sync. But we'll never know. One day we'll have to see how she does during a lip sync. Hopefully she'll come back. I think Darlene, they're probably going to be asking her from day one to come back for All Stars. And who do you want to see from this season come back on All Stars? I would really like to see a lot of these girls come back with like Evolution. Now, Miley won the special award this year, and so she was up on the panel at the end, which I thought was cool, and they did one of her songs, a song featuring Naomi Campbell I've never heard before. I'm assuming it's got to be new. This final lip sync, I thought they both did well. However, I thought Myki totally won it in terms of matching the energy of the song consistently throughout, from beginning to end, from the second she started with her back to the camera and then turning around with the hat, and she made all that work. And she built with the song and naturally just like embodied it. Nini, I was actually expecting a bigger stunt or something different, because she had the purse that she was carrying at the end. And I was not expecting her to just take off the front of the purse and have it be a puppet. I thought something was going to come out the bag or something, And she's so smart. I just was expecting more. And I was only expecting that much more because she had the bag. You could see that, there's going to be some sort of stunt with the bag. And, we'd seen Megami do a little puppet moment for a lip sync before, and it just didn't read well. It wasn't like it was like such a fast part of the song that she couldn't have just learned the words. Because it kind of almost even felt like that, like she just didn't learn the words for that little section of the song or something. But overall, even if she had done that part, from beginning to end, I think Myki did clearly win this. Though I was still rooting for Nini at this point. But it was clear that Myki did do better at the lip sync. I like Myki, and she did great, and especially when it comes down to that final lip sync, I think she did win. But overall, there just was something that just felt like, again, going back to the overall feeling of the finale, a little bit hollow. Onya and Myki have very similar brands. They're both musical theater girls. That's kind of like their main thing, the singing. I'll be curious to see how this evolves, or how Myki's reign goes, and what more we get to find out about her and how she is going to reign over this past year, or over the next year. But I did love that lip sync look. That was actually fierce. The suit and the pinstripe and the hat, it was a really fierce look. The top three got to look like they were creating their own palettes with Anastasia Beverly Hills, and that was part of the package. I don't know if an actual palette being produced is part of it, but Myki's was the palette I was least interested in, just because her makeup is the most simple. Like, Nini would have a fierce palette. That's the one I would want the most. And Darlene's would be very colorful, although she was picking out like all blue, and some of them were very similar. But I wonder if they'll produce not only Myki's, but maybe they'll produce the top three's palettes. I feel like it would be smart to produce all three, because I definitely would try to get Nini's. But if they ended with this photo, because we saw them do a photo shoot, I wonder what, like, is that it? Is that what they won? Or is there going to be something to come in the future with that? Because they could say, like, this right here is what you won, the promo. I hope they actually produce a makeup product. That would be really fierce. Because they had, during the segment when they were doing that, they had, like, palettes that said something like Anastasia plus Drag Race, you know, like as if there was going to be a palette to come. And they were putting one together. So I want to know more about that. All of the top three won money. I believe Congeniality won the $10K. Didn't Darlene get $10K as well for being third place? And then Nini got $25K for runner-up. And of course, Myki got the big prize. So everyone ends up walking away with money this season. And some of them with good little pots. Juicy, because she won last week with that lip sync tournament, she comes away with a fierce little amount there. She could not work for the whole year if she wanted to or something. When Myki could too. Thought it was funny too in Anya's little, step down conversation with Ru. I swear she mentioned money like 4 or 5 times. Like, I got money, which is real. Is definitely real. I feel that. Well, now it's time to take a look at our YouTube thanks. And up first is Julia coming through with the thanks. I appreciate you, Julia. And then David said, love having Visa back on the channel this week. Love when she's on. I loved it too. Also, with these placement videos, it reminds me of a video that I'm personally interested in. Potentially, others would be too. Maybe doing a video on the most and least followed queen on every season for every franchise. That's a lot of people. And of course, you can stick to only doing current airing franchises. Well, that's a little bit better, but still, even just doing the US ones, that would be a lot of people. However, I think bringing in canceled franchises too would be fantastic. Can't wait for the finale, and then can't wait for All Stars 11 to start at the beginning of May. Plus, the little Drag Race break for 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, since it's my birthday and we actually have a little bit of a break this year, I'm going to probably try to take it a little easy unless they hit me with a lot of All-Star stuff over the next couple weeks. Next, Marsha Mello. That's a cool name. Mallow? Marsha Mello? Said, I love how France has a 100% track record of if you come in 7th, you're Congeniality. That is crazy. And that was like I didn't realize that all 3 of them were Congeniality, but they definitely had the strongest out of any franchise in terms of the 7th place queens. Like, super iconic. Cam, Moon, and Norma. And then Joel said, for your birthday that's coming, from a Brazilian fan, also Taurus. Well, happy birthday to you too, Joel, whenever your birthday is. Mine's next Saturday, April 25th. And then finally, JLAA came through and said, thank you for another great video. Thank you. Curious if you think Thailand is unofficially canceled again. I definitely do. Personally, I think we lost a lot of essence of what made Drag Race Thailand during season 1 and 2. I agree. I definitely have talked about that when we've talked about canceled franchises, that Thailand almost like went too far in the other direction in terms of like trying to fit the Drag Race formula. It felt like all the soul was missing, kind of like this finale. Like there was a soul missing from it for sure. And I felt like Pangina might have been a big part of that. Hoping that if it comes back, it's both art and Pangina. I agree. I think that's what you mean. Because that's a few misspellings there for Pangina. Because season 3, Pangina. Oh, wait, maybe that's somebody else. Art and Panjoto? I don't know who that is, if you didn't mean Pangina. I think you did, though. Because season 3 Pangina could have used more of Art to rein her back. There needed to be more of a balance. Art has, like, even though she can be, like, harsh in terms of her delivery for the scripted stuff, which actually I love, she is softer when it comes to the other stuff. Like, she has a mushy side that it was missed for sure. But, you know, Godlin doing so well in this past Versus the World could mean that it could help get that brought back. Or at least, I would hope that it means that they will continue to utilize more of the alumni from Thailand. Because you brought up Thai queens like Candy Cyanide and Jeannie, who lives in LA, or Thailand queens in general to be used more by WoW. I agree. I want that too. But Godland, I mean, you know, you're saying it's shocking that they haven't, but Godland I feel like is a massive step in the right direction. That's all I have for today. Let me know what you think about All Stars 11 starting on May 8th and everything about the finale. What did you think about the finale? Were you happy with the winner? Are you happy with everything in general? I think the only thing for me is it's very shocking to me that we have, even though I feel like Myki did in the end win this finale, we have winners back to back, that the brand continues to be the weakest part of the winner. But I feel like Myki could, over her reigning year, I could see her like delivering a sharper brand as time progresses, because she's a smart girl. Let me know what you think about everything. I have one last thing to say today. Glad you got to see me. Bye.